Hi everyone, I'm here to share with you one single act. A single act of changing the content of the food on your plate and how it'll help and change your health for the better and change the world for the better. If we all made a simple switch from a meat-based diet to a plant-based diet, it will benefit everyone and everything across this planet. Everything begins with our food choices. Let's start with the number one killer of humans, heart disease. And the number one factor affecting heart disease is cholesterol. And cholesterol only comes from animal foods. Our body makes all the cholesterol we need. We do not need it from animal foods. Cholesterol is not an instant killer. It takes years for it to build up inside our arteries as our body constantly tries to fight and get rid of it. But once it builds up and a plaque ruptures inside our arteries, it stops the blood flow to an organ, usually the heart or brain, and causes heart disease or a stroke. As I said, cholesterol only comes in animal flesh. Our body makes all the cholesterol we need. We do not need to eat it. All nutrients originate in plants, including protein, including calcium. All nutrients come from plants. The next factor in heart disease is inflammation. Animal products and processed foods are highly inflammatory, where plants are anti-inflammatory. Plants are our source to keep our bodies relaxed and under control. And the latest research shows that our gut bacteria is also playing a big role in heart disease, creating bad bacteria called TMAO, trimethylene and oxide. It's only built up from animal flesh, and it's a killer for our hearts. The science is clear, and Dr. Esselstyn of the Cleveland Clinic made it very clear to all of us that we can make ourselves heart attack proof by switching from an animal-based diet to a plant-only diet. I'm talking about a whole food plant-only diet, a diet made up of whole plant foods from the ground to your table. And please, please, please stay away from the latest diet trends of ketogenic diets. All they're doing is setting you up for long-term health problems with short-term weight loss. The number two killer of humans is cancer. The cure to cancer is our own immune system, not some pill or some drug. We need to stop feeding the cancer. And Dr. Campbell from the China study proved that he could literally turn on and turn off cancer by adding animal protein or removing animal protein. One of the biggest contributors to feeding cancer is the growth hormone that's in milk and all animal flesh, and it's called IGF-1, insulin like growth factor 1. It feeds cancer. It makes things grow. And one of the worst for growing cancer is casein, which is the protein in cow's milk. It's designed to make a baby cow grow to a big cow, but in humans, we're already grown, and it's making cancer grow very quickly. That same bad bacteria, TMAO, that's feeding heart disease is also feeding cancer. Another factor of cancer growth is acidity. If our blood's acidic, if we're loaded with acidic foods like animal foods and processed food, cancer is very welcoming in that environment. Well, it's not welcoming in an antioxidant, plant-rich environment. And plant estrogens that come from soybeans in their whole form are excellent at stopping the body's ability to absorb the bad estrogen that come from animal products. Plant estrogens are loaded with good nutrition to block cancer. It was just a few years ago that the World Health Organization classified processed meat and red meat as a class 1 carcinogen, equal to asbestos, smoking, and plutonium. And that's bacon, hot dogs, and red meat. Well, it should be no coincidence that when you put vegan blood that's been eating plant-based foods for their lifetime, in a petri dish full of cancer, the vegan blood destroys the cancer. That's the kind of blood I want in your body, as well as mine. To me, it's obvious why we're seeing all this disease in the human species. It's because we're not eating the right food for our design. We have small teeth, low acidic stomachs, very long, windy intestines, and blood that's taking all this bad bacteria, cholesterol throughout our body. We are not designed to eat animals. We're not a carnivore, and we're not an omnivore. We're a frugivore. A true carnivore or omnivore has the tools to catch and kill its animals, rip it apart, has short intestines to get it in, get it out. Total opposite of the human design. That is where our problems originate. And don't go through life blaming your parents and your genetics. The primary reason diseases run in families is that diets run in families. It's not your genetics, it's the food. A lot of people may think that switching to a plant-only diet is extreme and too difficult. Well, just like the past president of the American Council of Cardiology, Dr. Kim Williams, I find other things more extreme. I personally think it would be extreme for somebody to slice open my chest, take a vein from my leg, and try to bypass the clogged artery in my heart that's causing my heart disease, instead of just me switching to potatoes and beans and whole grains. I also think it's extreme to hook up an IV to my arms or your arms and have chemotherapy pumped into my body, that deadly poison, trying to randomly kill cancer, while cancer is throughout my body and my blood system. Instead, I need to stop feeding the cancer. I also think it's extreme to have to take pills and take shots for the rest of my life for diseases like diabetes that can be quickly put under control by adopting a low-fat, whole-food, plant-only diet. And a lot of people may be wondering, if this whole-food, plant-only way of eating is so powerful, how come doctors don't tell us about it? Well, it's because doctors don't know about it. They're taught nothing about nutrition in medical school. They're taught about procedures and pills. That's where the money is. There's no money in health. But the extremes and the problems don't just stop with our poor health. Here's the industry that we've created because of the demand for animal flesh. I don't think people realize how destructive animal agriculture is. We can see it right now in the Amazon forest, where trees are being cut down, burned, to make room to grow cattle and to grow food to feed the cattle. Just think of all the water and all the food and all the land taken up to grow animals for food when we could just cut out the middle animal and eat the food directly. And it's not just all the resources that go into growing an animal, it's the feces and the poop that they produce. It's unimaginable, and it's hidden from our view. And also hidden from our view is the apocalypse of animal deaths that's going on a regular basis. 1.2 billion animals every week are slaughtered for food that's killing us and killing the planet. Here in the United States alone, more than half of the continental United States is dedicated to growing animals. We are quite literally the United States of meat. And it's not just the 70 billion land animals killed every year, it's the trillions of fish that are pulled out of our oceans with gigantic nets that are decimating our oceans, where some researchers think we will not see fish in the oceans by 2048. Because of all these factors, the United Nations and other organizations that look after our planet have determined that animal agriculture is the biggest threat to planet Earth. We, as humans, are quite literally eating our way to extinction. And all the while those 70 billion animals are being fed till they're as fat as they can be, there are people around the world, over 800 million of them, that are starving to death with cow fields and pig fields and chicken fields literally right next door to them, where that food is going to those animals and not to those humans. An absolute simple switch, one single act, from a beef burger to a veggie burger is extremely powerful. As soon as animals are off the menu and people are eating plants directly, this planet can heal. We hold the power. We demand what we want in society, and industry produces it. Start demanding plants, not animals. Vote. Vote every time you go to a restaurant or to the grocery store. Ask for plants. Stop buying animal products. In my opinion, this whole problem is at the root of this protein myth. The myth that humans need to eat animals for protein. We absolutely do not. All nutrients, all amino acids originate in plants. Plants are then fed to animals, and then animals eat them, and we get those nutrients secondhand. Here's one of those great rarities where science and God are on the same page. Way back in Genesis 1:29, God said, I give you every herb-bearing seed on the face of this earth and every fruit-bearing tree, and they will be yours for food. And no matter what you want to read later on in the Bible, our anatomy never changed, and God's ideal never changed, and science cannot change either. We are designed to eat plants and plants only. So instead of basing your food and your meals around a piece of animal flesh, base them around filling starches like potatoes or whole grains or beans, and then complement those starches with a rainbow of fruits and vegetables. This is exactly how the longest living and healthiest humans on the planet have ever lived and continue to live. They eat like this in the blue zones. And the Blue Zone would be an excellent book for you to pick up and understand. And even though a few of the blue zones eat a little bit of meat, ironically the longest living blue zones, the one who follow their diet as strictly as possible, the Seventh-day Adventists out of Loma Linda, California here in the United States, they are now the longest living humans on planet Earth, and they eat no animal products. The food on the plant-only diet is limitless. There's over 80,000 different plants on planet Earth that are edible to humans. There's an unlimited way to create meals for our desire, and they're awesome. The miracles of health of a plant-only diet happen when you eat a whole food plant-only diet, a low-fat, whole food plant-only diet. But in today's world, the transitional foods are amazing. Foods that will help you get from your old meat-centered diet to a plant-centered diet by mimicking the foods that you're used to. Those are not foods you want to eat on a regular basis or forever, but they'll help you wean yourself off the animal flesh. And if you can't give up your junk food habit, well, there's plenty of junk food out there, but it won't be destroying the rainforest, and it won't be using up all of our water, and animals won't be dying. And yeah, you could be healthier on a plant-only diet if you ate more whole plants, but these are good transitional foods as well. The power of our food choices are incredible. When we switch from an animal-based diet to a plant-based diet, we're right off the bat causing less rainforest destruction, using less water. We're helping to feed people who don't have enough food. The antibiotics that are mostly being used in animals are now going to be able to be effective in humans. The healthcare will go down dramatically. Our heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and every other disease on the planet will minimize themselves and be greatly diminished. And yes, there is one nutrient that you can't get on a plant-only diet, and that's vitamin B12. But oh, by the way, you meat eaters are not getting vitamin B12 in your animals either. Even though the animals eat the dirt of the earth, which is where vitamin B12 come from, that's the bacteria which makes up vitamin B12. By the time you cook that meat, it's denatured, it's killed off that vitamin B12, so you're not getting it either. Because of the sterile world we live in, everyone needs to take a B12. And if you live in a climate that's not very sunny, take a D3 as well. Nature was really good to us. Every piece of fruit, vegetable, nut, seed, bean, grain is in a perfect package of protein, calcium, omegas, and all the vitamins we need. Don't start eating food for protein or calcium or omega-3s. Just eat real food. Plants. Plants have it all. Not only will you thrive on a plant-only diet if you do it in a whole food manner, not a processed food manner, but the whole planet will thrive. We'll use less water. We'll use less food to go to an animal so the hungry could be fed. We'll stop cutting down forest land to make room for animals and animal feed. We'll stop creating so much CO2 and also methane into the air, which is warming our planet. And an animal will not die every time you want to eat. What a legacy. If you're like me and you want to see a more peaceful planet, well, I absolutely believe that peace begins at our dinner table. Hatred is taught to our children at their very first meal that it's okay to eat a chicken, but don't hurt a dog. Teach compassion, teach kindness, teach peace. Eat a plant-only diet. One single act, one single powerful act will change your world and the world. Eat beans, not beef. Eat potatoes, not pork. Eat chickpeas, not chicken. Eat plants, not animals, and this planet will thrive, and so will you. Go to my website, onesingleact.org, and learn more.